So in a home environment, obviously it's your own environment. You've designed the room, so to speak. You've got the pool in or done whatever you've done. So it's going to be a totally different experience as to walk into a room you've possibly never been into, to
Absolutely.
a group of people you've never met before,
Yeah.
and then everything starts to just happen to you.
Absolutely.
Rather than you driving the bus, so to speak.
Definitely. And I think certainly Nick's also realised how important that is to, you know, a smooth, easier, quicker birth, basically. And in terms of your midwives here in the UK, also having the right sort of person that's with you and knowing them, whether it's a midwife or a doula, knowing them so that apparently that speeds up labour 25% or something. I mean, there are some incredible stats actually out there. Just because it calms you down, you feel safe, secure. You know, we are mammals at the end of the day. And when you look at, I don't know, I had a dog, and when she gave birth, you know, we set something up in the garage with lights and everything, and she left and went in a little bush and dug a little hole, and it was all dark and contained and on her own, and that's how she wanted to do it. And actually thinking about it now, having read all you've read, that's exactly what you sort of want. So, yeah.
Well, as most people will know, light is a stimulus to the body, and it's a stimulus to the central nervous system, and it's normally, you know, we're either being tortured under lights or we're being interrogated, so it's incredibly important that things like the lighting are down. The stimulus to the central nervous system are at their lowest, so that the body's natural chemistry, as you know, can do its own thing. Because you were talking about how it speeds things up. Just explain a little bit about how that happens.
Well, I think from a home environment or any environment where you can create your own environment, you want it dark, as you say, you want it quiet, you want to shut the door as much as possible, and actually not for your husband to be there necessarily, saying you're right and asking lots of questions. You just want to know that they're around, but not necessarily bothering you with your process. And what's interesting is that a lot of women, when they transfer into hospital, they were perhaps having their 5-minute contractions at home, and suddenly everything stops. And that's because of that change in environment, suddenly going from a very brightly lit, as you say, with the midwives there, that you perhaps don't know, you know, in a completely alien environment that's actually built for people who are sick and you're not sick. You're going through a very natural thing that something like 400,000 women go through every day, most of which have absolutely no access to medical care. And thank God we do, just in case things go wrong. But actually, you know, most people don't need proper medical intervention.
Yeah, being one of life's processes, obviously you have all the internal chemistry that you need. Even I've seen women who, you know, as soon as they leave the house, being worried that they're not going to make it in time. And that sends the adrenaline going, which then shuts down
oxytocin,
all the normal chemicals that you need. So, but I'm really, you know, chuffed for you guys, because you did do how I think it should be done, where you really prepared well in the beginning. You went on the detox program, you really looked at your nutritional status and started to read your books and do your research. And it's been quite a journey, as you know, from start to now, and now you've hit a little bump in the road because now baby's in a breech position. But I'm confident we'll be able to get this baby to turn and get you into the place that you want to get to. Tell us a little bit about Caroline Flint and the stuff that she does.
Well, she's a very interesting woman. I think she's been a midwife for 40 years now, or thereabouts, 35, 40 years. She also works with the NCT a lot, and she worked very closely with Michel Audin, and I think actually was a midwife for one of his children here in the UK. She's interesting in that she clearly comes from a more natural angle, but she doesn't, if you like, bang the drum to the extent that it can put some people off. Because some people think, especially if they're very scared or very pro-medical, that anybody who's not going to give birth in a hospital is irresponsible. And actually someone like Caroline will say that anything medical has a place. And one of the stats that she uses that's interesting is that I think about 85% of people who go into hospital have an epidural. In her birth center, for example, only 9% of people have an epidural. So she's not against epidurals, she just thinks that they are overused, basically. And it's interesting because, again, it says medicine has a role to play, but not necessarily, you know, as much intervention is required as we currently experience in our system, basically. And she's inspiring, you know, she She's got some fantastic anecdotes, and she really gives you confidence to trust your body. And I think a lot of women simply don't trust their bodies, because a lot of us nowadays haven't experienced pain, if you like, haven't pushed our bodies that far, and are just don't want to have pain. And pain is seen as this negative thing, and childbirth is seen as a super painful thing. And you see it in the movies, everything that comes out on TV. As soon as a woman goes into labour, which is this thing that happens really quickly, supposedly on TV, you're rushed into hospital, sort of A&E style, on your back, everything that you basically don't want to do. And actually, it's not like that for most people. Some people have emergencies and it can happen, but for most people, it's a very slow thing, and you don't have to be rushed into hospital to give birth because you're not sick.
Well, I can vouch for it. It takes time. Our little guy took 54 hours to arrive, so I was doing acupuncture and everything. So definitely, it's not like you say, a 2-minute wonder and screaming and all that sort of stuff. For me, it's the most amazing example of human physiology. It really does. I had a dad that we interviewed the other day, and both of us just went, yeah, okay, we are the weaker sex, because it is just phenomenal when you see what women can do. And like you said about them trusting themselves, we're told now that you can't do it. You need support and help, and we'll do it for you. And it's just a shame, because the biggest cost, I think, of that is that women then come to motherhood feeling like they have no confidence.
Absolutely.
That they can't do it. And then we had a call the other day. My wife does some maternity work where she goes and works with new mums. And this mum arrived home and said to her husband, I don't know what to do with this baby. And she absolutely hit the panic button. And it's just such a shame that that's her start to parenthood and mothering. So the breastfeeding was obviously a major challenge, because she didn't know how to breastfeed obviously either, if she didn't know how to even mother the baby. And what impact does that have on society? And that's what bothers me the most.
I see it in my friends, those few who've had natural births, there's the sort of just fulfillment, and the sort of calmness and happiness they feel from it. It's just a different level of confidence, actually, than 70–80% of them have had some sort of medical intervention, and some of it quite serious intervention. And as you say, complete lack of confidence. Doesn't mean they won't love their baby and their baby won't be super happy and healthy and everything else. But it's the first step, and why not start as well as you can, basically.
Absolutely. And the thing about that first part of the journey, if you like, is it can have implications, and we're not suggesting that, like you say, they're definitely going to be unhappy or have a problem being a mother. But when you start off on a good footing, you've got a much greater chance. And you're saying about these women who are much more confident when they've been through a more natural birth. We don't get stats about that. We get stats about how many epidurals. We have stats about all this other stuff that we can measure, but it's quite difficult to measure a mum who's really confident, a mum who's really happy.
Just look at the pictures post-birth, immediately post-birth, of people who've given birth naturally and those who haven't. And you can just see the ecstatic look on their faces of those who give birth naturally. It's just amazing. You're just like, I want to be like that. It's just amazing.
Brilliant. Well, listen, congratulations on your journey so far. Honestly, I think you've done a great job, and thanks for providing some stuff.
Thank you, Craig. You've been incredibly good to us, and to put us on the right path. So
thank you.
Hopefully you'll turn.
Absolutely. Thanks.